Welcome back, everybody. This is another episode of an Untold narrative where we try to feature unknown creatives from around the globe, which you probably haven't heard of. And today's guest is defined by that. I did a little bit of homework and a little bit of research on our guest today, and I'm super excited for the conversation and excited for everybody to meet her. Coral Garvey, she has worked with every brand, a lot of brands that you have heard of. From I heard or saw James Harden with Adidas creative direction, Calvin Klein, and now has stepped into Web3 with the Playground app. And so she has been taking over from London to Korea to NYC, I read. So we're going to get into all of that. Coral, how are you and where are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm in sunny London now. In London right now. This is where I live. It's amazing. It's now summer, so the vibes are out.
That's amazing. And so you do balance your life between multiple cities, I
Yes.
think. And so what does that actually look like? Do you actually break it out like year wise, like in segments?
Well, I'm actually more solid in London right now, which is amazing. I can kind of just like chill and, start my career and my life here. So before I was in New York primarily and moving between Berlin, New York, Madrid, but just where the work went, I guess. So, it was good. It was nice. It was, multicultural living.
How does one do? Because on paper, and when you hear that, it sounds glamorous and amazing and like the life that everybody wants, right? You're traveling between all these major cities in Europe and the United States. How do you run into something like that? Like how does that happen?
Well, I guess it does sound glamorous and it's very like, nice to think about, but it's a lot of hard work, right? Because it's more about trying to find my place of where I want to settle. And I think
Hmm.
I've had the luxury to know people and to have people help me along the way. So one example is going to Berlin, my alma mater from Diesel, from Converse, those amazing jobs, was from Anomaly. An agency. So back in the day, it was really small. We all knew each other. We all worked every weekend and partied every weekend, and we all just stayed friends. And it was really great because we
Hmm.
all were this close bonded group, young 20s. And then everyone just kind of went off to do other amazing things, creative director at Nike, um, working at Gray, Wyden, all these other brands. Some people went off to be directors and now they're doing short films. So it's just, keeping people connected, I guess, really. It's about making those relationships and being kind and supporting each other. And so they helped me out when I wanted to move to Berlin. So, started working for them. So yeah, it's kind of
And
just friend network.
that's really, really beautiful. We're gonna deep dive into that. What do you classify yourself as? Like if somebody you're sitting like the classic, you're sitting on a plane next to somebody, like somebody
Mhm.
asks you like what do you do? Like you're really multifaceted. And so like how what do you say?
I guess I say a creative because it's just sort of all encompassing, right? Yeah, I do a lot. And I think I don't know if this ever happens to you, but when someone in your career or your life tells you you can't do something, it kind of, like starts a fire under your ass and you're like, challenge accepted. You know what I mean? Like when I was in advertising, I had someone tell me, they're like, well, you can't be an artist and you can't do this and you can't be a photographer and you can't be a creative director in advertising. And what, you have to pick one thing or a writer. And I was like, that's bullshit. Like you should be, if you're a creative, you should be able to experiment and try to hone in on as many things as you're interested in and get good at those things and fail at those things to kind of craft what you really really want to do and what you're interested in. So again, I've been really fortunate and lucky enough to be able to experiment, not only with brands that are saying really, like, I think, inspiring messages to young creatives, but also painting. And I started writing the past couple years. So and then watching YouTube, going back to the school of YouTube, seriously, and
I
just,
love YouTube University.
dude, I graduated from the school of YouTube. It's like it's crazy. Like how to write a script. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I finally finished my pilot. So sorry, I'm going off, but I'm doing a lot. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So what are you most known for? What do you get hired the most to do?
I guess creative direction. Yeah, that's kind of my
From
bread
like
and
a
butter.
marketing perspective, like photography perspective, or
No, from a like ideation
okay.
perspective. Right. Yeah. So I guess my big kickoff, well, was Diesel, Be Stupid. I got to work with the amazing team at Anomaly to create that campaign. And, the second season was seriously my heart and soul. Be Stupid, like listen to your heart, not your head, and running around with, models and art directors and art departments and not knowing what we were shooting every day on set.
Mm,
It was nuts. Like we wanted spontaneity, we wanted excitement, and that's how we found that we got it by not knowing, which is actually insanity if you think about it. They just gave us the reins to do that as a well, a global company, and they loved it, and so that was really fun. But then Adidas, with Gareth Bale and Luis Suarez, and writing, inspirational, I guess, videos of like listening to your heart and not your head. That same sort of vibe of your inner self, and trying to inspire people to listen to themselves, right, and do what they do and work really fucking hard to do it.
mm,
Things don't come easy. You have to work hard for it, and you will get rewarded. So I think there has been a pattern, I've been lucky that I've had the opportunity to tell these narratives and to hopefully inspire people. So, and then Depop was the same. Young creatives, bringing them up, giving them a platform to sell, and a designer, and not going through those traditional paths of, going to art school if you can't afford it. You can
right.
still be an artist. You can still be a fashion designer. So I think these are important messages, for young people that I necessarily didn't have, which I think is kind of like a weird, if you want to
So,
go
so
psychologically.
a lot of the listenership of this podcast are creatives. They're, footwear designers, photographers, videographers,
Mhm.
et cetera, et cetera. A lot of them are up and coming. They're at the beginning portion of their career. And so everything you rattled off sounds amazing. We haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg in terms of all the collaborations and stuff you've done and been fortunate to work on. How does one like get into something like that, right? Like, is it like you talked about knowing a lot of people and friends of friends and this and that, but like, is there like one core element or takeaway that you can give to people so they can go home and extract that and really lean into it to try to like branch out? Because it's so competitive, it's so challenging. um,
It's really, yeah. I guess I try to make it kind of quick in my learnings. I was really socially inept. I think in my early 20s. And
really?
yeah, like I couldn't talk to people. I was horrified. I was
Because
scared.
like today you're the opposite.
I'm the opposite. Yeah. Well, I'm a lot older, but
Mm.
I had to shadow friends, honestly. I
Mm.
shadowed friends who were extroverts, and I would rather, rip my skin off than talk to a stranger. Honestly, it was horror. My anxiety was bad. And so I shadowed my friends. I asked them questions, and like you and your podcast, I realized like people like being asked questions, right? And so you get them to open up, and I started practicing for years. And my camera actually, I think, really saved my life. I started shooting people. And
Wow.
I'd go out, and that would help break the barrier for me. Is that I would see someone interesting, or couples, or anyone on the street, or going out to a bar or a club, and introducing myself and asking if I could take their picture, and then just striking up a conversation that way. And it was so horrifying. I remember the first time I did it. I think it was at Matchless in Brooklyn, and I was so scared. But then we became friends, and we're still friends to this day. And I support what she's doing. And I think going out, meeting people, is a huge part of it, the social part of it, and being genuine and nice. Because I think, you said on Instagram as well is a big tool for me for networking, or I guess I hate that word networking, but seeing other like-minded people and
Yeah.
just saying, hey man, like love your work, would love to work with you, or shadow you or learn from you. Because again, like people always like to feel complimented as well.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to put in the work and the effort with someone, I think, at least for me, like I would be like, yeah, I'd love to help you. You're reaching out to me, that I know how scary that is. I know how difficult that is. And you think people aren't going to respond, but they do. And again, you have to show that you can work hard and that you're passionate about something.
So you've mentioned hard work a lot, and it's definitely like what I truly at the core believe in. Like you can be have worse talents than somebody else, but you can outwork somebody
Oh yeah.
100%. And so you've mentioned it now in 10 minutes of recording. You've
Yeah.
mentioned work hard like 4 or 5 times, which is amazing. So like off camera, you mentioned that in your 20s, like in New York City, like, you hustled and you worked extremely hard to get a lot of these jobs and these connections and friendships and opportunities. And you use the word toxic, which I know we were off camera and off recording, but I wanted to re-bring it up because I thought it was really important of like, there is that balance of hard work and then
Yeah.
like toxic, like hard work. Right. And
Yeah.
so what's like a couple things that like you've learned from that era of like, was it worth it because you've gotten to this beautiful place in your life and your career where you have a little bit more balance and a little bit more happiness,
Yeah.
but you had to make that sacrifice? I assume so.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's difficult. I kind of go back and forth, like we were saying, thinking about your mental health, because I think it's a lot better nowadays, right? At talking about
Mm,
mental health and taking time off for yourself. So I think I'm just I don't know, I reflect on it a lot, but I think I was having fun as well. Even at an office, staying late, at least our culture back in the day, we're all friends, we're all young, we're
mm,
all trying to make it. And, we're all in the same boat. So we'd go out for beers after work. And, when we weren't at the office, we kind of felt lost because not only were they our friends, you're there hustling, but you're also playing, you're also having fun, you're stressed out, but like you're in the best city in the world. You know what I mean? So I think looking back, yes, the expectations of staying for the weekends from a company, probably not great. And I
mm.
wouldn't expect that if in my own company. But I think it was fun. I think it was fun, and it was a big learning experience. So and again, I think back to your point about working hard, my dad told me a piece of advice. He's like similar. He was like, it doesn't matter wait, what did he say? How talented you are, or how uh, hard, or something like that, or how hard you work, how hard you work. It's who likes you. And he's like, that's kind of what sucks. But he's like, just work hard, but also have people like you. Which at
Mm,
the time I was scared of people, so
sure.
that was really a difficult one to overcome. Um, yeah, I guess. Yeah, don't take things too seriously sometimes. I don't know. I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I mean, I think New York has that like energy about it, right? Where like, yes, people work really hard, but they also go out a lot. They go party a lot. They, meet
Burn
a
the
lot of
candles.
like-minded people because there's so many people you can find your like beehive, right? Like,
Yeah.
and then meet other people within that network. Um, and yeah, where did you get this like I don't want to use the word hustle because it's a terrible word, but like where, like it sounds like you've always been like trying to achieve or become something or like have this innate like passion to like figure things out. Like, do you know where that comes from, or like did why?
Why? I like the challenge. No. I guess I don't know if this is like too weird, but I recently discovered I have a lot of ADHD, so which has been super helpful, actually, to realize and to learn
Sure.
and diagnose. Because I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, this makes so much sense. I can't stop. I start projects, I have to keep going. And I had this conversation to like someone asked me like, are you doing this for other people, or are you doing this for yourself? And that's a hard thing to answer, I think, for anyone. Outwardly, anything that you achieve, and once you achieve it, is that really for you, or is it for other people? And how do you separate that, or those feelings, right? And I think it's not bad. Any of that is not bad. And ego isn't bad. Sometimes it gets a bad rap, right? But I think it does support you, and it does kind of keep you going in some ways. Um, but I love being creative, and I love the challenge. And I think, when I was younger, a lot of people said, "Oh, what are you going to be, a starving artist?" I just get made fun of, and it's like, and that sucked, because I was like, well, it's the only thing I'm really good at. I'm like, yeah, I'll be a starving artist because I'm not going to be a mathematician. I'll tell you what. But so I think that challenge as well kind of set the fire. I'm like, I'm gonna make it. Like, watch me. And I know that's not super healthy maybe either, but that's just how I run my brain. Um,
Does
and
that?
that's
But like, I want to push. Like, does that come from like your parents? Does it like where does like that? Because it comes from my family, right? Like
your family.
yeah, we immigrated over from Poland. Like it comes from that like immigrant mentality. Like that's where
Yeah.
mine comes from. But like
Yeah.
where is it your parents? Is it like your the town you grew up in? Like where's that fuel like come from?
Maybe it's proving myself. Yeah. Maybe it is this like sort of immigrant mentality for sure. Because I'm Korean, but I'm adopted. My older sister, me, and my younger brother, all from Korea. So we have a very multicultural family. I have a Black
Mm,
Caribbean family. My dad is a massive overachiever, so I think that helps. But my mother was very laissez-faire, so
okay.
it's kind of like this Dharma and Greg vibe, when I was growing up. So I think that's where I got the chill, but then also the come on, bring it. So, but
I,
yeah,
I love that. You mentioned so many different aspects of the work, but it'll come back to this root of like, yeah, I'll be a starving artist. How do you, one question that I get a lot is like, how do you prioritize all the different aspects of your work, right? Whether, for myself, it's, painting, it's the podcast, it's my footwear design, it's my real job, it's like blah, blah, blah. How do you like juggle all these things? Is there a way that you break down your day or your week, or like, or do you just like, are you a feather and you're just like, I'm going to go wherever I go?
actually, I tried to have a little whiteboard. My art manager told me I should have a whiteboard so I see it, and I
Okay.
just looked at it today, and it's like so old, so that doesn't help at all. I don't know if you have any tools you can help me with. Um, I think it just goes by, for me, it goes by feeling. I do big oil paintings as well, photography, writing the show. Then my job is like, it's all emotional. It's all from my heart. I think there is no separation anymore from my personal work for my job, at Playground, because it all comes from a creative, I guess, cup, bowl. I don't know. Someone said that once. You have like a cup and you keep filling it, you keep filling
Yep.
the bowl and you take out of it. Um, so I don't think there's a lot of separation. Obviously, day job, yeah, you have your day job, but I think everything inspires you during your day or whoever you meet, right? And that fuels you into other aspects of your life. Your painting, your shoe design. You go out and for work and a shoot, and you see something cool, and you're like, oh, I could do that. Put that line in or something. So I think you have to step away sometimes as well, right? I don't know how long your paintings take, but mine take ages. And
I'm working on one that's 25 hours in. So yeah, it's a little bit.
25, yeah. I think my longest one took 3 years. So
Oh shit. Okay. Yeah. We're not even in the same stratosphere.
no, 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 it was like I didn't know where it was going. It was like when I was first starting, so I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And
But
so
I am stoked that you said that, right? Because I don't believe in a work life balance. People ask all the time, and I'm just
yeah,
like, I just like want to live and do what I want to do, and like
yeah,
however that works out. And like there are people that I meet on from like my art friends that end up I work with in 3 years on the footwear side because then they blow up or whatever, and then we want to collaborate. Like you just never know. So like just
yeah.
doing things that you love to do actually fuel one another.
Yeah, and I think definitely, I know it's like do what you love. And again, that's very a privileged thing to say, but I think as a creative, luckily we are in that way in some respects. But I think if it comes from your heart and what you want to do and what you want to design or shoot. My friend Jivamir, he's an amazing designer in London, and he came up too. And what's that saying? It's like, oh, they blew up overnight. It's like, babes, I
It's
blew up over 30 years of hard work, working and failing. And I saw him and he was a prolific stylist, but he told me something years ago with my work. He was like, I was going out shooting party photos, in Brooklyn and having fun. And he's like, yeah, he's like, honestly, he's like, yeah, your composition is great. The people you shoot are cool, but anyone could shoot what you shoot. Like, what are you trying to say out of your work overall? And this is like, when I was in my late 20s,
mm,
mid 20s. And, I took it as probably the best piece of advice I ever got from anyone. Because I was like, shit, you're right. Like what do I want? What am I saying? What do I like? I don't want to be another Cobra Snake. Um, Old reference. So old party reference if anyone gets it. So I'm like, I like sci-fi. I like anime. I like conceptual weird, narratives. And so then I started shooting that, and I really enjoyed that and getting feedback and other people fucking with it. So again, it is like this maybe trope, but once you start really, again, failing, yes, is a big thing, but working with people that you want like and doing what you actually really like, and pulling from experiences from your life,
Mm,
they're all important. People will fuck with it, and that's what's cool. I don't think you should ever make something where you think, oh, people are gonna fuck with this, like, oh, I hope people, whatever. um I think you should start to think about what you want to do first, and be true to yourself. And I think that's when people start to really see it. People can see stuff really easily,
mm.
you can tell when something isn't doesn't feel right, I think.
I think so too, 100%. So how do you like today, right? Like you've gone through these collaborations. Like is there is there one project or art form or whatever that stands out to you as like your favorite? Or is that like trying to pick like a child? Like do you have like one pivotal moment over your creative time that you're like, man, that was so fucking cool, and like you like always think about it?
Yeah, I mean, Diesel was pretty insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, Diesel was pretty insane because we won a bunch of awards. And not only that, because again, it's like, who are you doing this for? Are you doing this for yourself? Are you doing, I mean, obviously we're doing it for a client. We work for an agency, we're doing it for someone else. But being in Cannes and accepting the award for the team, it was depressing. It was actually like the experience of shooting was amazing. It was so stressful. I told you we didn't know what we were shooting. We
Mm-hmm.
walked around with post-it notes on locations that we scouted. We had models. We had the fit. We hired everyone, but we had no idea what we were shooting. So we had coffee at 6 in the morning, walked around and found a certain spots, and we had some references obviously, but we're like, okay, we're gonna get 100 balloons in here and a girl in the tub and someone on the phone, and we'd write out post-its every day. Like it was total insanity, but it was fabulous. It was fantastic. It was so creative, and being paid for it, it was
Mm.
really beautiful. um but I think after winning the award, it was very weird because everyone wants this award, the Grand Prix at Cannes, for advertising. And I'm there young and with my creative partner, and we're like, why does this feel so bad? And maybe because all of our team wasn't there, right, to accept it with us. But I think it was just it. I don't know. It was weird. It's like when you I don't know if you work for amazing places, right? And when you get that first job at Nike or you get that first job at Apple, and you think the golden doors are going to open, the thing that you've always wanted, and then you get there, and then you're like, wow, like this is my life hasn't changed, which is crazy. I know this is like a crazy, again, privileged thing to say, but it was a really interesting thing to go through. Achieving something very early in my career that so many people work hard for, and feeling like you don't deserve it, almost like, what is it, like a
Imposter syndrome.
yes, yeah, 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 imposter syndrome, for sure. And then, why do you beat yourself up over that? You worked hard, so it's being a creative is actually insane. It's
Es-
actually insanity.
Especially young success too. I don't think companies, even like our peers, anybody like actually thinks about how much it impacts creatives. And like,
Yeah,
yes, we grind, we work really hard, we deserve it, we should be proud of it. But like that stress, and like once you reach the mountaintop, it's like it ain't fucking great. And like it's crazy to think about. And I don't think holistically, I wish there was a little bit more empathy for like, if people need to walk away for a few days, like let them go have a moment, and
yeah,
like then they'll come back and be creative again. But it's like there's this expectation of like nonstop delivery, and it's
yeah,
fucking overwhelming all the time.
all the time.
And
Yeah,
then now you have all the social pressures, right? Of like, especially through platforms like Instagram, with like
yeah,
comparison and stuff like that. And that's why I like yours, is because I think it's fun, and it's like just like whatever, like you're out at a party or it's like photo shoots or whatever, but like it feels like you don't care about like what you put out there. And like but that does exist, and it's
yeah,
so it does cause a lot of pressure and anxiety for creatives.
Totally. I mean, it's not, people think it's glamorous too, and it's the struggle's real. It's like the struggle is real. Although I'm trying to turn my ADHD into a superpower. Like now that I know, I'm like, oh, okay, no way. It's like I'm gonna use this for good. So, but yeah, no, Instagram is difficult. It's a tough one for me. Because again, I like you've met people through it. I think it's great for networking. I think it's great for portfolios, experimenting, seeing other like-minded people. That's what I use it for. It's
Mm.
fun, it's silly. Twitter scares the shit out of me. You say one word and like that's like on your tombstone, it's like, oh God, I'm sorry. Like you post a silly picture, like no one's gonna care, but like
Next
Twitter.
thing you know, it's got fucking 100 likes and retweets and shit. Like 1,000 people have seen it, and you're like, how the fuck did that happen?
I know, or like in 10 years, someone pulls it up, it's like you
That's
said
even
this
worse.
10 years ago. You're like, oh my God. But yeah.
What what are you most excited about today? Right? It sounds like, do you recently moved to London, like almost full time, or it sounds like that's like your main
Yeah.
priority now?
Yeah. I was back and forth from New York and London, and now full time. Yeah, I absolutely love it here.
So
It's
what are you most like why did you make the move, and like what are you most passionate about? And obviously you're into Web3, and like with your full-time job at Playground, like
yeah,
what are you stoked about today?
yeah. Today, so many questions. What am I stoked about today? I guess we want to go into Web3. Do we want to talk about that? Web3.
Whatever you want to talk. We don't have to. I want to talk about like what like your energy is amazing. Like what when you wake up in the morning, right? Like are you stoked? Like what are you excited about tomorrow? Tomorrow, Monday morning. It's
Yes.
9 after 9 p.m. in London
Yeah.
right now. Like
Yeah.
what are you stoked about?
Yeah. I wake up, there are birds, chirping, so fresh. No, I wake up, I'm like, oh God, coffee. Yes, tons of coffee, love it. I guess I'm excited for a bunch of collaborations coming up, I think. I mean, I'm excited about plugging Playground. I'm gonna plug Playground, but I'm excited about that. We're doing some really big things this summer. Um Web3 is pretty wild as well. We can talk about that later, but it's sort of magical.
It
Like
is.
you've experienced this, like it's magic. It's kind of like this cool new.
I think it's because it is new and nobody really knows what it's gonna become.
Yeah.
And that makes it a very special moment in time. I think we're past like the anxiety phase of like in this like winter, and like we're still like maybe in it, but like I think people are starting to recognize it's a really special moment in time of like this isn't gonna exist forever. It's gonna catch up to the normies out there.
Oh yeah, totally. It's not stopping, dude. Like, I mean, yeah, like some banking FTX stuff, but the actual functionalities I think of it are incredible. And
Right.
I think once creatives really start to get a hang of this, it's going to change the game for everyone. Which I'm excited about. That's again, like I know I keep harping on about championing creatives, but I think it's really, really important. Because a lot of them don't get paid a lot, and they hustle and they get stolen from, and it's really an amazing musicians, right? An amazing tool, for people not to with them. It's like, don't, I own this, boom. And it's great. I think that's a great tool, for artists all across the board. NFTs especially, I think it's, for some people it's really amazing.
How
Obviously,
how are you personally from your creative perspective, like leaning into the technology, or that ecosystem, or NFT specifically?
yeah, I think, I mean, we've got some things cooking, on the back.
She's gonna
On the
give
back
the
end.
roped
Yeah,
off
yeah. Yeah, no, but I mean, I love what you guys are doing. I mean, that's why I was like, I was just like, damn, like it's so great. Not only sustainability wise, but like the vision and like the projects you get to work on and the foundations you get to, give money to and help
Mhm.
charities. It's just like, it's really, really cool. It's amazing. It's so innovative. Like Adidas can't do it. Nike can't do it. Maybe in the future, hopefully they'll jump on board of the sustainability
I think so.
idea. But I mean, maybe not because this is your job. But it's like it's so cool. When I first saw it, get the NFT, get the shoe, and it's like you get access, and it's like a 360 campaign, right? and experience, which I think is amazing. So I think that is magic. Like,
By the way, everybody listening, Coral does not work for N State, but thank you for the massive love and plug there.
no, no, no. No, I was new to Web3. I was new to Web3. I was like, what the hell? What is this? Like, Bored Ape Yacht, thing or whatever. And then, deep dive. When you deep dive into it, it's just like you get sucked in, and then you're like, oh man, I'm a nerd, which is great.
Yeah.
And then you can go off forever to talk about this stuff. But
I do want to talk about. I saw on your website before we jumped on that you actually have like your own bag, like a like
oh
a
yeah.
like a like a cross body bag, like, so you do clearly soft goods or maybe even some apparel. Like, how is it
Hmm.
just like you having an idea and branching off and just bringing your ideas to life? Like, tell me about that, because it's so different from all your other work that's on your website.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I started it years and years and years and years ago. And when I go out, I don't like bringing a purse with me. I like, it's just you need your wallet, you need your phone. That's it to have a good night. So, I started out with like a small strap. Um, I had some friends, Harvest. They're called Harvest in Brooklyn. Two brothers, a Korean. Again, I worked with them in Anomaly, so it's like Anomaly fam. They started their own really successful leather, brand. I wanted to do something similar. I thought maybe I could do that. Again, failure is key. And they helped me out. And I wanted to be from Korea, so they had, amazing connections. Anyway, everyone that I asked about getting into fashion, they were like, "Do not do it." They're like, and like it, like even like big brands. I mean, like small brands, but they're like, I mean, do it. It's amazing, but damn, it's hard. And I was like, no, okay, challenge accepted again. And then yeah, and then did it, and then sold, in multiple cities, Berlin, New York, London. I still have some pieces in London actually. So yeah, it was a lot of work because I had no idea. I didn't go to school for fashion. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to make a pattern. So
So,
again,
so how did, for anybody, like, what did you do? Like, did you just like sketch it on a napkin and hand it to these brothers and they
I,
figured?
well, no, I did an Illustrator. I did CAD, going back to school of YouTube. Yeah, I'm like, here you go. No, I'm not Steve Jobs. No, but I burned through a ton of money. That's another thing. Just be careful. Yeah, burned through a bunch of money. Made a lot of mistakes. Learned from those. But yeah, then I know how to do everything. I know now looking at a piece of a garment, or a leather bag if it's made well.
Wow.
Um, or the tooth of a leather, or different shades and different, where they're sourced, and things like that. So I got, again, it was like going to a master's class just by failing and wanting to do something, reaching out to friends who know how to do it. So yeah, that's one part.
I love that mentality of just like, I'm gonna try this and we're gonna figure it out. I might lose a lot of money. It sounds like you did, but
Yep.
you figure it out. But you're like, I've had bags all over the globe, and I think there's something really beautiful about that. Before we wrap up and I ask you a couple final questions, I do want to talk about the script that you're writing, because you mentioned it at the beginning, and I wanted to loop full circle. Like,
Yeah.
that's amazing, and like I wanted to pause and just take a deep breath of like, what are you building, like what are you writing, like what do you want this to be, like
Yeah.
what's the purpose behind it?
Yeah. So it's called Chinatown. And it's, oh man, I finished the pilot finally. It took 2.5 years to write. And the pitch deck is done, the character's done, the timeline's done. So we're reaching out to production companies right now.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff. But it's pretty much a crime drama based in the 90s. And it's a family, and they're based off real characters, real gangs, real shit that happened there that no one knows about. And one of the reasons I'm doing this is because I dreamt about it, first of all, while getting a massage in Chinatown, which was crazy. Yeah, it was nuts. It was like
Okay.
it all came like flooded into me while I was getting this a shitty massage in Chinatown, which I love doing. And I was like, what do I do with this? Like, what do I do with this dialogue and this like, who are these characters? Like, what? And so I went to Strand, found the only book in the entire library, like in the bookstore, about Chinatown, and all of these characters popped up. It was an investigative reporter wrote it. It was wild, like
Wow.
police, the DEA, like characters that I dreamt about. It was nuts. So I'm like, okay, what do I do with this? Reached out to writer friends in the industry, asked some advice, went back to the school of YouTube, whatever, whatever. But primarily, it's going to talk about my experience, obviously growing up there when I was 18, in the 2000s, and the multiculturalness of New York City, obviously racism, the history, and education of why Chinatowns exist in the first place, because no one fucking knows.
I
Like,
know.
really, it's not talked about. The only thing that's ever, or I guess other friends told me about in the industry was like Crazy Rich Asians. Like, that's like a Western, a view. And it's like, that's not even real. That's fantasy. That is mega fantasy. You know what I mean? Um, so I think it's going to show a different level of Asian American experience, which I think hasn't really been told before, especially in a city like New York, which is so prominent and so filled with
Sure.
amazing immigrant stories. So it's really exciting. That's really exciting. And it's really fun to write really messed up stuff. Like, it's really like dialogue and like fighting and like other characters that are completely opposite of you. And it's just been actually really fun to explore. So yeah.
Wow. I'm so happy I asked this question. This sounds amazing. So congrats on getting this far. I can't imagine that's very easy. Hopefully somebody picks it up. I
So
don't know
yeah.
a ton of film people, but I'll think about it. But that's awesome. That's definitely something to look forward to. Coral, thanks for hanging out with us. I honestly think we could have recorded a 2-hour podcast if we really wanted to. I'm gonna
Cool.
ask. But I know you got to get to your fish tacos. I want to ask you a couple questions. You've been able to accomplish all these amazing, beautiful things. I like to ask people if you could give 1, 2, 5, as many people as you want flowers today, like somebody who's really helped you out along your way, and like you wouldn't be where you are without them. Whether it could be as cliche as your parents or whatever, or somebody you've met through the internet of things. Who's somebody or multiple amount of people that you would highlight if you could right now?
Oh my gosh. Oh geez. We're at the Academy Awards right now. Or what is this? Tinder? Does Tinder do this? No. Hinge. Give a rose. Let's see.
You're gonna give the. I might change this segment to the Hinge Rose.
Five roses. This is so stressful.
You gotta pay more, $13.99.
Apps
for,
is like
for
a
all those listening, yes, Dave is on Hinge.
I was on it for a hot minute. No, oh God, this is like the hardest question I think you've asked me. Damn. I guess my mom, not to be super dark, but she passed away recently. So yeah, I think she was insane. Total crazy woman. Didn't care about what anyone thought. So she taught me a lot. Family. I think my sister, my dad, he was pretty tough. Taught me a lot. Work ethic. Very supportive. Later, we had a little contentious period for a bit, but I was a teenage girl, so it's fine. Yeah, I guess family, and a lot of friends. And yeah, there's too many, honestly.
Yeah.
Mentors from work who believed in me and continued to hire me throughout my entire career. So yeah, it was through friends. So
Well, you're continually doing amazing work, and so for those who are just discovering you here today, last question: where can people find you? On what platforms do you prefer? It sounds like you avoid Twitter, based on
oh,
your comments earlier. But where can people find you, and what are your handles, etc.?
oh yeah, I have two Instagrams. One's for painting. One's for painting. It's my oil paintings, M3 Coral, and my photography and just me being a ding dong. It's coral.garvey. So that's just me.
Cool. And I think it's coralgarvey.com as well from my
Yes.
past research. Coral,
Yep.
this has been super fun, and I'm stoked to have you on an Untold Narrative. This has been truly amazing. I hope people enjoyed listening to you, and definitely follow along her journey, as she's probably going to do a lot more cool shit. So
But yeah.
thanks.
Also, I need to interview you maybe next week.
We'll
So
make
I'll
it
get you next week.